This module has 5 content sections and a final exam. Section 1. Revealing total costs. At the completion of Section 1, you will be able to explain why the lube's value chain winning proposition requires a total cost of ownership approach with our customers. Describe the features of the TCO approach, especially its focus on customers. Describe competitive forces that drive the need for innovative TCO proposals to customers. The lube's value chain winning proposition is advance our customers' mobility, productivity, and sustainability ambitions through rewarding mobile brand experiences. Understanding the customer's ambitions and goals, uncovering their suffering points, and cooperatively creating solutions is the competitive advantage. This process requires knowledge of equipment, operational and lubrication conditions, and people skills. We combine technologically advanced products, industry-leading services, and collaborative expertise to provide solutions that help customers meet their specific business goals and achieve their ambitions. 3 terms are important to understanding the winning proposition. First, customer ambitions. What the customer aspires to be in the future. Typically, ambitions are at a high level in the company, but they may also be at a personal customer contact level. Second, customer-specific business goals. What a customer needs to achieve to overcome their suffering points. For example, improve machine uptime by X%. Reduce oil usage by Y barrels per year. Third, mobile serve objectives. Cooperative initiatives in which the customer agrees to work with us to reach their specific business goals, which in turn help the customer reach their ambitions. These are typical examples. Conduct root cause analysis on number 5 paper machine dryer bearings. Conduct energy efficiency study on paper mill pulper drives. By understanding customer ambitions and business goals, you will be able to establish meaningful mobile serve objectives that will result in creating customer value. TCO is the method you will use to help the customer understand and accept this value. The TCO method enables you to move away from the discussion of just lubricant pricing to justify your recommendations and help the customer understand how the cooperative approach and work will help them be more competitive and improve their bottom line while keeping them safer and more sustainable. Section 1 has 3 topics. Let's start with looking beyond price. Consider the case of Ron, a procurement specialist, who is preparing to buy 50 office printers. One printer model has a low price, but are there hidden costs? Unfortunately, this model requires expensive ink cartridges, toner, and replacement parts. Ron also checks out the printer's reviews and finds that it requires frequent repairs. And that means downtime, resulting in additional costs to the company. All of these hidden costs need to be taken into account to find the total cost of ownership of this printer. Similarly, what hidden costs go into the total cost of industrial operations? Consider these common hidden costs. You need to show customers how the right lubrication solution, products, services, and processes can actually reduce their overall costs by reducing hidden costs and maximizing benefits, even if the product or service costs more initially. TCO is a methodical, simple, and transparent way to discover and examine costs and benefits for the customer. In this module, you will learn how to use TCO to document and sell the value you add for your customers. Our next topic is revealing hidden costs. Too often, price is all the customer sees or wants to see. Your job is to help customers focus on the full picture by encouraging them to look beyond price. As we look below the surface issue of price, some obvious cost factors related to lubricant purchasing may emerge first. But dig a bit deeper, and we uncover the costs of equipment downtime, repair, and replacement, which can be addressed by solutions such as used oil analysis, improved filtration, improved bearing type, and new lubricant dispensing systems. As more and more hidden costs are revealed, price alone looks a lot less important in comparison with all other factors combined. These 6 categories will help you uncover what lies below the surface: revenues or money in, processes, assets including facilities and equipment, expenditures or money out, safety, and environmental care. Market pressures are driving customers to use a TCO approach. Let's see how. Our customers are looking for ways to reduce their operating costs or increase production. For example, they may try single sourcing. At first, this solution may help reduce costs, but as diminishing returns occur, customers look for other opportunities to reduce costs. Our customers experience other pressures. Their customers demand lower prices. Increasing service requirements drive expenses up. The cost of goods sold historically trends upwards, sometimes quickly. That puts a squeeze on our customers' profits. One approach our customers can take is to seek new ways to increase profit. For example, they might expand their offering and get paid for the value added. By focusing on our customers' ambitions, we may be able to help them become more profitable, thereby earning their business at a justified price. Our customers may also have opportunities to reduce expenses and the costs of goods sold by improving internal operations, or working with suppliers to reduce channel costs. This is where TCO comes in. We can help customers reduce operating expenses and costs of goods sold, thus improving their profits, earning their business, justifying our prices, and increasing our own earnings. Both ExxonMobil and our distributors use the professional sales process every day. TCO touches on all 7 stages of this process, with primary focus on these 5 stages. When we identify needs and formulate offers, we incorporate TCO into the findings of our plant studies that demonstrate benefits the customer will experience by adopting ExxonMobil and its distributors as its lubricant supplier. The TCO approach helps the customer understand the improvement in their total costs and helps us close the sale. As we deliver on commitments and help customers achieve their business goals, we also expand our relationships with them and increase our influence on the accounts. When we develop account plans with customers that address their ambitions and business goals, we use TCO to help them understand how our cooperative work and recommendations will achieve overall lower costs and greater productivity. TCO justifies the value the customer sees in the outcome of the objectives and justifies our recommendations and cooperative work. In this section, you have learned that the Lube's value chain winning proposition is advance our customers' mobility, productivity, and sustainability ambitions through rewarding mobile brand experiences. Our winning proposition requires us to understand our customers' ambitions and specific business goals, and to develop cooperative mobile serve objectives. TCO is a methodical, simple, and transparent way to discover and examine customer costs and benefits. It requires us to look beyond price into 6 categories of hidden costs. TCO aligns with the 7-stage professional sales process. Competitive pressures experienced by our customers drive the need for innovative TCO proposals from us. Serve total cost of ownership training. Section 2. Discovering opportunities. At the completion of Section 2, you will be able to describe the development of an opportunity from a suffering point to a solution. Describe the spin approach to selling and how it applies to identifying TCO opportunities. Name the 6 major TCO categories. This section has 4 topics. The first shows how a suffering point plus a solution equals an opportunity. Customers experience suffering points and have continuous improvement needs. We have solutions including products and services. Together, we have opportunities. Let's consider a very simple example. Suppose your customer is a lemonade stand. You supply it, not with lubricants, but with the sweet stuff. It's time to look for TCO opportunities. First, what are their suffering points? Your customers tell you that sales are lagging behind expectations. After all, new bicycles don't come cheap. In addition, the supply process is unreliable. At busy times, Mom cannot always deliver more lemons and sugar as quickly as they are needed. Another suffering point is that some people are disappointed to learn that there isn't a sugar-free lemonade available. Let's see if your solutions match these suffering points. Since you're a supplier of sweet stuff, look first at solutions that match your offer of products and services. You can deliver larger sugar bags and offer vendor-managed inventory. VMI for a lemonade stand? Well, let's say you could drop by each day and resupply as needed. Luckily, you offer a sugar-free sweetener that will meet the needs of customers who want a lower-calorie drink. And finally, you can help your customer boost sales by offering custom signage. Next, let's see how spin selling questions can be used to help identify customer suffering points. Keep in mind that once you have identified a suffering point, you must still develop the need in the mind of the customer. That is, you must get the customer to see that they have a need. Spend time uncovering and developing the need until the customer is thoroughly convinced of the magnitude of the need. You can do this through spin selling and TCO analysis. Situation questions are designed to reveal facts about the customer's current operations. What is the highest maintenance expense on your molders? How much hydraulic oil do you use per year? How fine is your hydraulic oil filtration? What type filters do you use? Problem questions are designed to reveal problems the customer currently has, based on the facts you have already determined. Is your pump life shorter than it should be? Are particular machines more likely to have oil contaminated by water? Implication questions are designed to reveal the negative consequences, usually costs, of the problems already determined. Do you overrun your budget because you repair or replace too many hydraulic pumps? What are your disposal costs due to wet hydraulic oil? Need or payoff questions are designed to build value in the customer's mind for the benefits ExxonMobil products and services can provide to them. If I could show you how to double your pump life, what value would that have for you? What would it mean to you if we could show you how to reduce abrasive contamination? By using SPIN, we can often move into planned engineering services, a four-step process we use with select most valued customers. 1. Understand the customer's ambitions and specific business goals. Then mutually agree on a plan with engineering objectives to reach those goals and ambitions. 2. Cooperatively execute the objectives. 3. Review at the end of the year how we did against the plan. 4. Start again next year. PES is the process we want the customer to adopt, so that we can understand their ambitions, goals, and suffering points. Then, develop cooperative objectives that will deliver valuable solutions. Via the PES process, we deliver the solutions that have a meaningful, positive impact on the customer's total cost of ownership. Now let's see how the 6 TCO categories are useful. Discovering opportunities is probably familiar to you, and that is the first step in TCO. Identify opportunities for your customers. Now, we will move on to the second step, determine TCO impacts. These 6 categories will help you uncover hidden costs that lie below the surface of price. Revenue is money in. It can be increased by reducing downtime, rejects, time to market, and cycle time. Processes like purchasing, maintenance, and production involve people and the costs associated with them. Safety increases when humans spend less time interacting with hazardous machines because the risk of injury is reduced. Assets, such as buildings and equipment, are another cost category, which can be reduced by improving the supply chain and equipment life. Expenditures are recurring cost items such as energy, parts, and supplies. Environmental care is a category that supports the environment while reducing costs, primarily through waste reduction. Let's look at these TCO categories one by one. How will one opportunity you discovered for the lemonade stand affect revenues? You suggested providing sugar in larger bags or possibly taking over inventory management. Your client reported missing about 6 sales per day because of downtime from delays in the supply chain. Your improvements should reduce downtime by at least half. As for assets, the larger packs of sugar may require more storage space, but a plan for vendor-managed inventory would free up facilities. Your customers' improved supply chain should result in a more continuous production flow, reduced labor, shorter cycle time, and ultimately, more satisfied customers. The improved supply chain makes you, the supplier, more efficient, and the customers can better predict their deliveries. Now you can lower your price to the stand. Fewer trips back and forth into the house for supplies reduces the chance of slip and fall. Bigger bags mean fewer deliveries, thus less pollution from vehicle exhaust. When adopting sugar-free sweeteners and having larger bags delivered, the increased revenues and safety far outweigh the extra costs of assets, processes, and expenditures. Take a moment to think how you might help a customer take advantage of opportunities like these. Which of these opportunities offer the customer the greatest potential in terms of profits? How would you rank them? Think about risks and barriers from the customer's perspective. What might hold them back from taking advantage of each opportunity? Consider how this worksheet might be filled in. Knowing customer objections ahead of time and knowing how to minimize these concerns can make it easier to sell to them. Determine your company's strengths. The sheet might look like determine your company's strengths and assets for minimizing the risks and maximizing the value for each of the opportunities you identified. The sheet might look like this when filled in. Now we can see which opportunities have the most potential, because we have anticipated risks and barriers from the customer's point of view, and how we as ExxonMobil or distributors can address those issues with our strengths and assets. Our final topic in this section is using an impact chart to show a customer how a TCO opportunity can impact their business. The real payoff with TCO comes when you can show how an opportunity can impact the customer's bottom line. An impact chart also helps you and your customer see how TCO components may counterbalance each other. For instance, this chart makes it clear that expenditures for pump costs and valve costs go down, while analysis costs go up. In a later section of this training, we will look at ways to gather data to quantify these impacts. An impact chart helps to document the cost impact of problems. For instance, industry sources report that typically 90 to 95% of hydraulic pump failures can be attributed to one or more of the following: aeration, cavitation, contamination, excessive heat, overpressurization, improper fluid. Improved use of lubricants and hydraulic system conditions might lead to a 90% decrease in hydraulic pump failures. This reduces maintenance costs and downtime and increases revenues. In Section 2, you have learned to 1. Use 4 types of spin questions to identify customer improvement opportunities. 2. Explore the 6 TCO categories and their components to further identify opportunities and match them with your solutions. 3. Look at risks and barriers from the customer's point of view before proposing solutions. 4. Consider your strengths and assets that you can use to counter the customer's risks and barriers. 5. Use impact charts to document TCO impacts and communicate them to your customer. Ownership training. Section 3. Gathering data. This section is about Step 3 in the TCO process. At the completion of Section 3, you will be able to identify data gathering requirements using appropriate worksheets. Identify and select sources of data for TCO calculations. Develop questions to gather data from chosen sources using call plans. Document the data collected and calculate projected improvements on the improvement worksheets. Summarize results and calculate the total profit impact using a TCO cover sheet. Section 3 has several topics related to the data collection and documentation. We'll start with sources of data. To build your TCO case, you must gather the right information from the right sources by asking the right questions. You will be using the TCO section of Mobile Serve PowerWriter to collect and format your information. This diagram shows where TCO fits and how it gets used with the customer. The TCO data gathering worksheets guide you in gathering the right information to build your case. Here is a sample worksheet for reduced downtime, a component in the revenues category. Alternatively, you can enter data directly into Mobile Serve PowerWriter as you collect it. In Mobile Serve PowerWriter, a TCO calculator is integrated with several of the templates. The calculator has 4 screens: TCO Summary, Baseline Inputs, Calculations, and Implementation. Entries are auto-formatted as a summary table in a document's highlights and as a detailed TCO appendix. This integration of narrative and quantitative measures convincingly substantiates customer value. Using either the TCO worksheets or Mobile Serve PowerWriter, you will collect baseline data. Baseline information is critical because hard numbers make TCO claims so much more credible. Baseline data tell what the customer is spending now. Consider these 4 sources of baseline data: in-house, industry standards, credible estimates, customers. You may have more information than you realize about your customers' costs. Use the information you already have from your past and current relationship with the customer. For example, based on the number of invoices or orders you receive and the estimated percentage of an account's business, you can estimate the number of transactions they perform. Mobile serve engineering or benefit reports and new business proposals are other excellent sources of baseline data. Look for these in Mobile Serve Power Writer. Industry standards can be used for estimating a customer's costs. For example, the possession cost for inventory is often valued between 15% and 35% of the amount in stock. Estimates may not be readily accepted by the customer, but in the absence of any other information, estimates may need to be used. The most often used estimates are those you develop or know about from other companies. For example, the cost to process an invoice has been estimated by different companies to be about $100. The best, most credible numbers are those your customer provides. Because the customer owns them, they are more readily accepted. However, the numbers customers provide are often very conservative. Example: the amount of inventory on hand. Here are some tips on gathering customer data. The customer numbers should be accepted throughout upper management, including the key contact person, maintenance manager, purchasing manager, and plant manager. Numbers agreed upon by purchasing have a good chance of being valued as hard. Always ask the customer to provide the value in his own words before offering industry standard baselines. If you tell them what you think something is worth, it may prevent them from giving you their own perception. However, if the customer has a hard time making an estimate, then give them some estimates based on your own research or experience. To help you identify the right data sources, add this column to the impact chart, the person responsible column with names and titles. As we have seen, this impact chart documents who is responsible for the costs you impact. You can also use the data gathering worksheet to identify information sources for determining the impact. Next, what questions will you ask of your data sources? And how can worksheets help you prepare questions for the right sources? Suppose you want to collect data about the savings of reduced downtime, one of the elements of revenue. Questions should investigate these areas. Annual unit improvement, the number of additional products or services the customer can make and sell. Unit value, the selling price or transfer value of a single unit. Increased cost, the cost for raw materials or direct components for producing a single unit. Here are the worksheet requirements for reduced downtime. Sample information sources for requirement A are these. And here are some sample questions for requirement A. Now, suppose you want to collect data about the savings of reduced assets. Questions should investigate these areas. Quantities reduced, the number of units of the asset that were reduced. Value of asset, the price paid or replenishment cost for the asset or assets reduced. Possession cost, the cost of owning an asset. Note that possession cost may also be called carrying cost or inventory cost. Here is the worksheet for reduced assets. Enter sources and questions next to the existing worksheet requirements A, B, and C. Typically, process costs focus on labor costs to perform tasks, such as purchasing. Questions should investigate these areas. Past process costs, what it cost to perform the task prior to the change. Frequency of past use. How often the task was performed. Current costs. What it does or will cost to perform the task after the change. Frequency of current use. How often the task is or will be performed after the change. This worksheet guides you to enter sources and questions for each requirement. Suppose you want to collect data about the savings of reduced expenditures. Questions should investigate these areas. Annual quantities impacted. The number of items that were reduced or impacted by the change. Price differences. The change is the price paid for the items, or if no change, the selling price of the item. The worksheet helps you organize your sources and questions for each requirement. Here are some questions you might ask about improved safety. The worksheet helps you organize your sources and questions for each requirement. If you are gathering baseline data about environmental damage incidents, here are questions you might ask about improved environmental care. Here is an example for environmental care, which would determine the amount of waste oil produced. So how do you make sure that you ask the right questions of the right people? Call plans provide a good method. This sample call plan illustrates how data sources and questions could be identified for a customer's storeroom management problem. The first question is answered by the production supervisor. How often did you experience downtime last year due to lack of available inventory? 0. Using in-house information, the salesperson is able to answer the next two questions. What was the initial value of inventory on hand when you took over? $150,000. What is the current value of inventory on hand? $75,000. The operations manager answers the next three questions. How many people were working in the warehouse prior to our taking over the warehouse? 7. How many people are working in the warehouse now? 4. What is the average loaded pay rate for these people? $45,000. From the operational budget plans, the last three answers are determined. What is the applied carrying cost on inventory? 21%. How much freight was budgeted? $15,000. How much freight has been applied for the first 6 months? $2,250. In step 1, we identify opportunities for a specific customer. In step 2, we determine TCO impacts and complete the impact chart. In step 3, we develop data gathering worksheets and call plans, then use them to collect the data. And in the next TCO step, we bring all the data together, to calculate the full potential savings from each opportunity. Once you have answers to your questions, document the results on various TCO worksheets. The next steps in TCO analysis are these. 1. Transfer the numbers from the call plans to the improvement worksheets. One worksheet for each TCO category. 2. Calculate. In this storeroom the next steps in TCO analysis are these. 1. Transfer the numbers from the call plans to the improvement worksheets. One worksheet for each TCO category. 2. Calculate and insert profit improvement and savings in the last column of each worksheet. 3. Create a cover sheet to summarize your calculations and show the total profit impact of the proposed change. In this storeroom management example, in the revenues category, transfer the answer. In this storeroom management example, in the revenues category, the primary component impacted is reduced downtime. Transfer the answers on your call plans to the Revenue Enhancement Worksheet. This example shows how data should be transferred from the call plans to the Asset Improvement Worksheet. This example shows how data should be transferred from the call plans to the Process Enhancement Worksheet. This is the Expenditures Reduction Worksheet. Again, these worksheets are samples intended to illustrate the steps in TCO analysis. In actual cases, you may need to ask questions and perform calculations using different categories or subcategories of information. Summarize the totals for each worksheet on the TCO cover sheet to arrive at the total profit impact. Insert the information from your call plans into the TCO section of MobileServe PowerWriter so that this information will be included in your proposal or benefit report. So far, we have learned to perform 4 TCO steps. 1. Identify opportunities for your customers. 2. Determine TCO impacts and complete an impact chart to document them. 3. Gather data. Complete data gathering worksheets, one for each TCO category or component impacted. Then develop call plans and use them to gather data. 4. Calculate TCO benefits by completing improvement worksheets and the summary cover sheet. Enter the data in MobileServe PowerWriter to have as part of your sales proposal or engineering report. After the next knowledge check, let's put to work what we have learned with a case study. In this case study, we will work through the TCO steps with a hypothetical customer, Plastic Recycle. Your customer, Plastic Recycle, manufactures recycled plastic for the injection molding community. They purchase off-spec parts, grind them, and process the plastic for resale to other injection molding customers. During your sales calls, you have made contact with Joe, the area maintenance engineer. Through your questioning, Joe has indicated that his bearing life on his grinders is 2 months, using the OEM recommendation of an NLGI-2 multipurpose grease. According to Joe, that bearing life is better than that of any other location within the company. Joe has 10 of these grinders in operation. Each grinder has 2 bearings. In addition, Joe tells you that the bearings have to be re-greased every 2 weeks or they start to squeal. He also shares with you that his company is really putting pressure on him to reduce his maintenance costs. Jot down your answers to this question. Then, see how your answers compare with the suggested answers on the next slide. At step 1, you should focus on the investigation and not leap to solutions. Here are some of the investigative actions you should take. If you could help the customer increase bearing life from 2 months to 6 months and reduce maintenance costs, what TCO savings could you show from this investigation? Here's the suggested answer for step 2. Use this information to calculate TCO benefits in the next step. If you have not already done so, click on the Resources tab in the upper right of your screen. Download and print the Plastics Case Study Worksheet and complete the calculations. Now access the answer sheet and compare your work. The suggested solution includes the added costs as well as the savings. Installing a central lubrication system to improve lubricant delivery involves a one-time investment of $5,000. Mobile Lith SHC 460 carries an extra cost. Finally, let's review the data gathering steps. First, find opportunities. Then, identify the TCO categories and business components that are impacted. For each category impacted, use the worksheet requirements to identify the information that needs to be collected. Identify information sources and questions that must be answered. Develop call plans. As you find answers to your questions, document them on the call plan. Use the cover sheet to summarize the results from the call plans. The cover sheet gives the total profit impact of the proposed change. Enter your collected data into MobileServe PowerWriter as an important component of our sales proposals and engineering reports to persuasively communicate the value to customers. In Section 3, you have learned to gather data using data gathering worksheets and call plans. You have also learned to calculate TCO benefits using appropriate worksheets. You will then enter your data into MobileServe PowerWriter. Welcome back to MobileServe Total Cost of Ownership training. Section 4. Making your case. At the completion of Section 4, you will be able to create organizational pull by identifying and analyzing key personnel in the customer organization. Develop a unique selling proposition. Use the investment strategy to selling the value you add. You've done your homework, including data gathering and TCO benefits calculations. Now, let's look at Step 5. Document and sell. Selling your value-added or TCO solution obviously requires push from you, which includes making the case and selling the benefits. But to make the sale, you also need to create organizational pull to get the key personnel moving in the right direction. Organizational pull comes from personnel who are opinion leaders or decision makers. These key people may be found in different functions, levels, and locations of the organization. You may need to go across and up and down the organization to get the right support. Also, consider the best way to sequence your approach to influence in the right order and in the right forum. Use this column from the impact chart that you developed earlier. Fortunately, these same people often need your help to do their jobs. Now you have identified the key personnel who must be convinced to buy your solution. Of course, their management must also be convinced. For each key person, a profile can help you prepare to sell your solution. Here is a sample customer profile for a maintenance supervisor, Frank. We have identified Frank's job responsibilities and the performance criteria by which he will be evaluated and rewarded. In other words, what is important to Frank's organization that we may be able to influence. Here is another template you can use to analyze your customer's personal situation before you sell your solution to them. Frank stands to gain bonus pay if he is able to find a solution to minimize crews waiting and reduce the risk of delays. However, if he risks going with a new product and downtime does not improve, Frank's reputation as a problem solver may suffer. Now you are ready to create a unique selling proposition based on your analysis of key personnel. Value added is only one of several key points that suppliers can use to develop a unique selling proposition. Each of these areas brings different benefits to the customer. The more of these components you can tie together, the stronger your proposition will be. Say to the customer, if you go only with product price, you may experience overall higher costs, poor productivity, and greater safety and environmental exposures. Value added is your ability to make your customer more profitable, to drive costs down, or drive revenues up. Show the customer that the real issue is the cost of poor performance, which drives up costs or reduces revenues and may increase safety or environmental exposures. Demonstrate that you as a supplier are compatible with the customer. It's about relationships, understanding the customer's needs, comfort level, trust. Business goals. How well can we help customers accomplish their business goals? Systems. Supplier and customer can knit together their processes, for example, ordering, invoicing, receiving. Show that your recommendations for improved products, services, and procedures can help the customer improve safety and environmental care, to prevent something bad from happening, and to enable the customer to meet their sustainability goals. Emphasize your ability to minimize risks through due diligence. We consider the risks associated with our recommendations, and we will reduce the overall risk to our customers. Our selling is an investment, not a cost. The key message to your customers is this: adopting our recommendations, including lubricants, improved equipment, and procedures, is an investment, not a cost. You want the best for your own equipment. You will be using a major sales proposal, MSP, to create push and pull. Focus on these key points. Return, how you can help maximize the customer's profitability. Risk, how you can minimize the chance of something going wrong. Performance requirements, how you can guarantee low risk and high returns. Investment, the time and resources that will be required to make the strategy work. In this section, you have put your TCO data gathering and calculations together, making your case to the customer by documenting and selling. You can create organizational pull by identifying and analyzing key personnel in the customer organization. Develop a unique selling proposition that ties together as many benefits as possible, including added value, reduced risk, compatibility, price, safety, environmental care, and performance. Convince the customer that adopting your recommendations is an investment, not a cost. serve total cost of ownership training. Section 5. Targeting your customers. At the completion of Section 5, you will be able to describe how to segment your customer base to identify the best TCO opportunities. Remember the Lube's value chain winning proposition. Advance our customers' mobility, productivity, and sustainability ambitions through rewarding mobile brand experiences. These brand experiences include solutions made up of technologically advanced products, industry-leading services, and collaborative expertise. But not all customers are interested in all we have to offer. Segmentation means you don't pull all your customers into the same box. Your opportunities to use TCO successfully will vary with the types of customers you have. Traditional, value-added customers like their supplier to be local. Know their needs. Understand how they use the supplier's products and services, and respond quickly. The TCO approach encourages customers to use our planned engineering services, a four-step process in which we help customers achieve their ambitions and specific business goals. Additional services may include vendor-managed inventory, technical support, product substitution, and problem-solving. To sell using the TCO approach then requires you to segment customers and find those with whom you have better chances of success. A recent commercial segmentation project conducted by ExxonMobil identified 6 global segments among lubricant customers. Connected collaborators are the most engaged with the category. They value trust and relationships with distributors and suppliers, and they tap into distributor or supplier knowledge to help them make decisions. Rule followers strictly adhere to OEM, company, or government recommendations and regulations, and have a regimented approach to maintenance. They are more open to new lubricant products. The invested are more highly engaged with the category and typically are more interested in new lubricant products. Because of their openness to engage and consider new products and services, these 3 segments were identified as targets for lubricant sales. They are also more likely to be interested in the TCO approach. On the other hand, these segments are not as likely to be interested in new products, services, or TCO. Price-focused customers are characterized by very low engagement with the category. They see lubricants as a commodity and have no intent on changing unless for a lower price. The passively interested are somewhat engaged with the category and somewhat interested in new products. However, they are not actively looking to change products and are overall reactive. Set in their ways customers have very low engagement with the category and are not open to changing lubricant suppliers, products, or services. They rely on previous experience or defer to what is mandated by their company. Many customers fall into these 3 segments, which are non-focus segments for mobile lubricants. These customers are concerned with either price or maintaining the status quo. They tend not to be interested in additional services or premium products. Because their willingness to work with you is low, you may find it difficult to sell them on TCO opportunities. Be careful, however. Some customers who at first appear to be closed to change or to be unengaged have really just not yet seen how we can add value. We should always test these customers to find out why they behave the way they do. It may be that they just don't see how to connect the dots between our offer and the value to them. If we spend more time helping them understand TCO principles and how our offer benefits them, we may be able to turn them around. Don't discount these customers too soon. These are target customer segments. If you find yourself working with rule followers or the invested, you may have more opportunities to use TCO. Buyers in these categories might say, "We will consider moving to a new service or product if you can show us results with other customers." Because they know that lubricant products and services can make a difference to them, and because they value and trust our expertise, connected collaborators provide our greatest TCO selling opportunities. A typical connected collaborator might say, "We value our lube supplier getting actively involved to make sure we're doing the right things to improve." So, with some segments, you may have minimal TCO selling opportunities. With rule followers and the invested, you may have significant TCO selling opportunities. And with connected collaborators, you will have your greatest TCO selling opportunities. You should spend your time accordingly once you have segmented your customers into these 3 categories. Keep an open mind, though. You may be able to convert some customers to a more collaborative segment. In this section, you have learned that recent customer segmentation research has identified 6 segments of commercial lubricant customers. You will likely find it easier to use TCO with the 3 segments on the left, and somewhat harder using TCO with segments on the right. However, you should not put any customer in a box before you have spent time trying to help them understand the added value of working together to reduce costs and maximize benefits.